Just want to say hi. I had a dream once, and that was that I would buy a Philodendron Billietiae and it would grow really big. Well, now that has gotten closer to reality, and I just want to talk about it. Oh, Mamma Mia, here we go again. And that is 2 ABBA references in the first 20 seconds of this video. I swear, I'll stop. I'm directing all of my emotions at my specific plant. That being said, sharing space with this specimen has been amazing, terrible, and now it's good. Nothing too extreme. Some of the triumphs have been buying something really small, making a video about it as soon as I got it so I can actually track quantifiable progress, and some of the pitfalls were some of the new leaves emerging very crinkly. It also had a bout with spider mites, to me losing my way with it, and all of those amazing emotions in between. And God, why do I feel this deeply about my houseplant? So today we're going to deep dive into the Billietiae and see why you would want one of these and maybe why you wouldn't, and give an honest update about a very uncommon plant that is now pretty accessible. I'm Willie, by the way, and I make emotional diatribes loosely based around my houseplants and other domestic malaise, and I'm really glad that you're here. If you're enjoying this video so far, please hit the like button because it really helps me out. And if you want to get cozy and parasocial, please hit that subscribe button as well. It's guaranteed to be an okay time. So let's talk about what's important, and that is, why would you want one of these? Because I think it's kind of weird and it's kind of ugly, but that's why I like it. First and foremost, you probably would want this plant if you're looking for something monolithic to put in your modern space. I have a zillion plants, but if I wanted to indulge my minimalist ideation, then I would just have like this one and a monstera. And I think they look really good with low furniture, and they just have this perfect sculptural and spindly presence that just is begging to be an architectural digest, or at least in that house that Kim Kardashian had with like the stone sinks. I think I want to be a minimalist, but my habits and my purchasing style seems to be a bit more maximalist these days. Did I mention that this plant is also otherworldly and looks like it was beamed right off of a spaceship that is on its way to uncharted and exciting new territories? And there's coffee in that nebula, so let's chase it. Another reason why you might want this plant is you want to invest in something that has a high probability for success, and I would say that this does. It's very adaptable. It's handled my household humidity really well without supplementation, and yeah, I've overwatered it, I've underwatered it, and it's kind of just been okay. It's been able to adapt. It's also strong, and that means when it catches spider mites, you can actually treat the mites and it goes away, and the leaves still look pretty great. They're tough and the texture is forgiving. Another reason you might want this plant is if you're like me and you are mystified and beguiled by things that are just too expensive, it seems, and then they suddenly drop in price, leaving you to wonder if now is your moment to snatch this amazing shiny object. And I'd say it really is, because now you can get these for like $20. And let's all go back in my time machine when these were like $300. And there was a point when I would have been happy to pay $300 and then been really broke. But sometimes with plants, I have a weird relationship with accessible. I would love to know your thoughts on this. Is something cooler because you can actually get it, or is chasing the paradise lost enough to get you through? Leave me a comment. I'd love to know. But yeah, with all that outlined, I think it's the perfect time to buy this weird tarantula-like beauty of philodendron and just let it buck in your space and enjoy the ride. Someday I'm going to do that. But I am enjoying this ride more than some others. Initially, how I started hearing about and seeing the Philodendron Billietiae was when I was looking into the Spiritus Sancti. This kind of was an analog for a strap leaf philodendron like that. I gotta say, the Billietiae is a really stately and beautiful plant that needs no comparison. It's not better or worse. Some of these rare plants that are now emerging with little tiny tissue cultures, it's just like such a rabbit hole into experiencing who I was, the excitement of the future, the underpinnings of emotional disappointment of the present, and all the feelings in between. And now let's talk about the opposite of what we just talked about and outline maybe why you wouldn't want one. So the first point that I thought of is that this plant takes up a lot of space. It really is 360 degrees of magic. As I turn this, you can see that the leaves sort of come out in a radial pattern. Another thing that is just pointing out the counterpoint to the fact that it is sculptural, it also isn't that warm, inviting, or cozy. Another thing to mention, as I have actually seen this plant in its adult form around town and not just pictures on the internet, there is quite a bit of negative space in between the leaves, so you really should know what you're getting. Something to consider if you're thinking that it's going to grow in lush. It isn't. It's going to look more and more like a larger version of its smaller self. Also, it does seem to be slightly vulnerable to pests, but it's also resilient, so you'll be okay. Another thing is, it requires a lot of cleaning. There's a lot of surface area on the tops of these leaves. In general, this plant is kind of sticky and it attracts dust. So I use my leaf shine spray and a moist microfiber towel. Some plants hide dust better. This one really shows it off. There's some reasons. Let's do a quick run through of the care of this plant. So in general, it loves well-draining soil. And I have been very aware of how much I'm watering it and making sure that it dries out pretty much entirely in between waterings. I've also fertilized this plant pretty regularly in the spring and summer. Now that it is the winter, it's seemed to slow its roll a little bit, but during the seasons prior, I was doing it every week with liquid fertilizer in the water. As this plant has filled out and it's growing taller, I'm watching it carefully because at some point I will probably put a stake behind it to support the stalk so that it can focus on pushing out healthy leaves and also enriching its root system. These grow like a tower, so it's important to give it a little bit of extra support. As I mentioned earlier, I clean it regularly so that the leaves can photosynthesize well because there's really not that many leaves. Another thing I do is I watch it like a hawk and check if there's any pests. I look under the leaves, I look on the top of the leaves, and I look at the stems. I've even been known to get my iPhone flashlight out to really get that bird's eye view if anything weird is going on and nip it in the bud as soon as it starts. Another really important thing to do is rotate the plant. For mine, I want to see big leaves coming out as evenly as possible. And I don't want the plant to feel like it has to grow towards the light. I want the light to come to it, you know? So now we are approaching the conclusion of this video, and I really hope that you've had fun. I've had a lot of fun talking about this plant. It's one of the few that I just think is such a success story and has been such an enriching experience to live with, the Philodendron Billietiae. It's easy to take care of, it's fun to watch grow. Needless to say, I've had a lot of joy, but I've also had a lot of disappointments with coming to terms with the reality of living with rare and uncommon plants, and also how much active effort it takes to care for living things in your space. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this plant has exceeded my expectations in every single way that a plant can. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. This was a really fun video to make, and I hope that you enjoyed watching it too. So there you have it. Take care of yourself. I'll talk to you so soon you won't even miss me. Okay, bye.